Hey everyone, welcome to Cross Culture Critic. I'm Chris.
And I'm Joe.
How you doing?
I'm hanging in. How about you?
I'm good. I was just telling you before this is my first day out of 5 where I am with adults.
Oh, nice.
My kids. Well, okay, yeah, we were just talking about
it's all relative, right? So,
my kids had a snow day on Friday because we had like the massive snowstorm here, and then I was kind of getting excited because I'm like, well, I'll just go to work. I work at a university. They closed me down.
Oh, nice.
So, it was fine. We had a good day. We watched Muppets. We went outside.
And then you went out and did the snowblower, right?
I shoveled because our snowblower is broken. It has a bad wheel, and even if I could do that, I think the engine's bad because I tried to start it just for fun, and it did not start. So I shoveled 3 times this weekend with all the snow we had.
See, because I'm a Dove Award winner, it allows me some frivolous luxuries in life.
Yes.
And my one that I have is, and it has nothing to do with Dove Awards. I was just saying that to
You pawned your Dove Awards for this album.
Yeah, exactly. But I get a lawn service. I have a lawn service that in the summer they cut my lawn. In the fall they rake it and get rid of the leaves.
Nice.
And then in the winter, I was telling you, I just pull in the garage at night. And then if it snows, I wake up, my whole entire driveway has been plowed and snowblowed. I don't know if that's past tense. Snowblowed, snow.
I think so.
Okay.
I don't think snow blue works.
Snowblowered. And
snowblower.
And it's all done, and so I don't have to worry about any of that.
Nice.
It's the greatest thing. So if you're listening and you get snow, just don't break your back. Don't invest in a snowblower because that'll just break. Just get a yard company to do it.
I'm raising my own yard company. My kid will be 10 in 4 years, so then he can start doing it all himself.
Right. I'm sure just as your parents made you do.
My dad would not let me mow the lawn. He loved mowing. My dad was crazy. He loved mowing the lawn. So I would ask, Dad, do you want me to mow the lawn? No, I like doing it. And I never got why until I had kids and started mowing the lawn. Was like, oh yeah, I can go outside and think for a little bit.
Yeah.
But we have just this massive lawn. We're on like a half acre, and that was a mistake because it takes an hour and a half to cut my stupid lawn.
Oh, that's awful. See, what started me down the path of paying somebody to do it is whenever I cut the lawn, I almost died, and then I did like an allergy thing, and my allergy test came back as like for grass pollen and stuff is like off the charts. So like whenever I would cut the grass, like my eyes would swell up, my nose would just be running like crazy. I'd have like a ton of like saliva in my mouth. Like I was a wreck. If grass landed on my skin, I'd break out and be itching. So you figure in the summer, I mean, you're mowing your grass say 3 times in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
somewhere in there in the peak of summer. And so I would just be awful, and then I'd have to come inside, jump in the shower, wash all the pollen and stuff off me. I'd have to do a neti pot, rinse out my sinus cavities, and then take a bunch of Benadryl. So I was like, forget it. When I got my new job, I was like, forget it. I am paying somebody to do this, and I have not looked back.
That sounds nice. I need to look into that. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we've been around. Like, we had kids at home, but then I had asked for yesterday and today off work. My wife had to be somewhere today, so I need to be home for when the kids got home from school. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'll ask for Tuesday off, and I'll just stay home because I have some vacation time. But I don't want to go Monday and then stay home Tuesday, so I'll ask for Monday off too, and I'll take a long weekend. And yesterday I ended up being home doing stuff around the house for my wife all day. And then so I'm like, okay, that's okay. Today I'm going to sit home. I'm going to write. I'm going to read. I have some new writing projects I'm working on. It's just going to be a great day. Maybe I'll turn on a movie. Last night at midnight, my kid pukes all over his bed.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I'm home with him all day today, and he was fine.
Oh, I hope you didn't bring the flu into my house.
No, because he didn't have the flu. I don't know what happened.
Okay.
I told him, I'm like, okay, you're staying home from school tomorrow, buddy. You got to stay home the day after you throw up. That's the rule. This morning,
he's fine.
8 o'clock, bouncing around, playing his tablet.
Yeah.
No care in the world. I think he ate some bad fish or something, but because we had salmon last night. But so yeah, it's good to be out of the house, escape a bit, and it's a big week. Valentine's Day is tomorrow as we're recording this. You do anything big?
Well, when are we releasing this?
This will come out Friday.
I'm not doing anything too big. My girlfriend and I, we kind of agreed to not See, this is where she got me. We agreed to not do anything big.
Mm-hmm.
And then she went to a fundraiser, had a couple of glasses of wine.
Uh-oh.
And the next thing that happened is she had bid on Red Wings tickets, won the bid. So now she's in for, a couple hundy for Red Wings tickets. Now, mind you, they're 7th row. I'm a huge hockey fan. I'm a huge Wings fan. And, that's my go-to for sports is I love me some Red Wing hockey. So she got me 7th row.
Nice.
So what started off, we were just like, hey, let's each just get each other a bottle of wine and a card or something. And then she goes and, I guess that's the
Yeah, so you got to shell out some money.
The evils of drinking because she had a glass and a half of wine and then ended up paying a bunch for Red Wing tickets that we're going to go to. So she trumped me with that. So now I have in mind, now I can't go up to that level that she spent, but I have in mind a pretty good gift that she was saying she wanted. So.
Yeah, I don't think we're doing any. I mean, we have kids and they're young, and my wife actually has Bible study tomorrow night. So we're not. We did our Valentine's Day this weekend. We did the old married people's thing.
Do you get something for your kids? No. Okay.
I mean, they get Valentine's at school. They're fine. But no, we went and did the old married couples thing. We had gift certificates. So we went to Bahama Breeze and saw a movie, and that was nice. And then she has a gift arriving tomorrow that she knows nothing about, and so I'll kind of win, I guess. But,
nice.
But that's about it. Lent starts tomorrow, too. Do you do Lent?
I don't.
You don't. Did you ever grow up doing Lent or anything?
No.
Okay.
No.
I didn't either. I was Baptist, and, Baptist, the worst thing you can be, is thought of as Catholic.
Right, exactly.
So we didn't do it, even though, Catholics...
Oh, you're Catholic?
Yeah.
Oh, you're a Christian, too?
Oh,
but you're Catholic?
Yeah, that was always the thing. Are they always so-and-so a Christian? No, they're Catholic.
Right.
They're like, oh, okay.
Right. I once heard one of my youth group kids say that he had a friend at school that this was the quote that his friend said, I don't believe in God. I think it's all hooey. There's nothing out there. I absolutely 100% do not believe in God. That's why I'm Catholic.
Oh, gosh.
That's what this kid said. And so we used to laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh about that.
Well, when I got married, my wife, she grew up Methodist, and they do Lent.
Okay.
And she gives up coffee every year for Lent, and I'm not doing that. But she kind of, convinced me to start Lent a few years ago, so I'm going to do it again this year. I do it every few years. And I give up social media, and it's a nice head clearer for a bit.
That's my thing is I don't do Lent, but listening to everyone who does it and grumble about it and stuff like that, and people who aren't what I would say faithful parishioners of a church, and then that do it and things like that, I find it odd. And I find it odd that people give up sugar or do that. For someone who doesn't do it, I kind of look at that as corny. And I'm not calling your wife out on it or anything like that. I'm just saying my own thoughts is social media. I would say that's that next step. You know what I mean? Maybe even a few steps because we are so reliant on that. And I know people are relying on coffee and sugar and all that, but I just think for what Lent is about and what it's representing, I would hope that people would go further. Okay. Use Lent as a time I'm just saying I don't do it, but if I did, and maybe I should do it this year because I'm talking about it. Say I'm going to do, during Lent, every day I'm going to try and do something for the less fortunate. Whether that's putting $1 in somebody's cup, whether that's taking somebody out to lunch, a college kid that can't afford it, getting them, taking them out to barbecue, something along those lines. Or, if you are going to do something where it's a little bit more pricey, say, every, Friday leading up to it or whatever, I'm going to do one of these big things and contribute my money and my time to kind of helping out. So from someone who just observes from a distance, I've just gotten kind of sick over the years of people being like, I'm not going to have sugar.
Yeah, I think
I'm not having this. I'm not,
When it comes to I'm just going to give this up because, it's Lent and I need to give something, I don't get that. What I appreciate about my wife and what kind of won me over to this was her explaining that when she wakes up in the morning and there is that, I don't have my coffee, I need energy, I can't focus. It's kind of just a taste, like a really superficial taste of Christ's suffering, which is what Lent's about, is kind of putting you're suffering, you're giving up something that isn't bad, but you're just willingly giving up something to focus on Christ's suffering. And then in that moment, she thinks back to the cross. And I'm like, I get that.
So in that sense, it's like a fast. You start to get hungry, or you're waking up and you're like, oh, dear God, the headache, the caffeine headache, God. And it reminds you to pray at that moment and stuff like that. I mean, I understand that. Unfortunately, I don't think a lot of people do that.
And I wonder if it's, okay, if we have Catholic listeners, I don't want to offend them. And I know a lot of great Catholics who take Lent very seriously, and I love them. I wonder if if you grew up in a tradition where they do that every year, if it just becomes so routine that it loses all meaning.
Yeah.
And if you came to it later in life, I wonder if it's something where maybe you're focusing on it more. I also like the idea of taking something on, like you were saying. And that's another thing Callie tries to do is, I'm giving up this, but I'm going to take on this. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of my hope this year, is to give up social media, but focus on being more intentional with relationships and not just mediating everything through screens. So we'll see. I usually make it a week through Lent, and then it's pretty bad. So I'm really bad.
Sorry, Lord.
Yeah, I'm really bad at it. I'm Baptist. I don't have to do it all the way. But it's so all of you who are doing Lent,
good luck to you.
Good luck. Tell us your stories
and do me one other favor. If you're giving up like sugar, don't find stuff that's like made from honey. I'm not eating sugar, so I'm putting sweet and low in my coffee. Like, dude, if you're giving it up, give it up. That's what I gotta say there. And then I'll disappear back into the darkness because I'm not doing it.
You'll disappear into your non-Catholic closet.
Right.
So we should probably go into the main topic today, and we're talking porn.
We are talking porn today.
I don't even know how to dig into this except to say this might need an explicit filter on this episode.
Well, I mean, it kind of started. You text me, hey, this is a show topic. The church doesn't talk about it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we do. Is we're just kind of two guys that don't really care what I doubt our churches are listening to us, so it's not like we're going to piss off our pastors or anything like that. And for those of you that listen, I think you kind of listen to this show because it gives you a little something more than maybe something on a Sunday does, or a little more food for thought, maybe.
Yeah, we're going where the church doesn't go.
There you go.
What really brought this to mind this week was I was watching some porn, and
You're like, I was trying to renew my Pornhub subscription. I almost said prescription. Like a doctor says that you need more porn.
I was actually reading the New York Times this week, the failing New York Times, and they had an article. One article, not the one I sent you, was about how now they are starting to teach in some schools porn literacy to students.
Okay.
Like teaching high school kids, hey, all that stuff you watch on porn, that's not how sex works. That's not how relationships work. That's not how women want to be treated. Getting to this point where they're just kind of accepting that, oh yeah, if you're a teenager, you've watched porn, and it's that accessible, so instead of trying to get you not to watch it, we're just going to teach you how to separate the fact from the fiction. Mm-hmm. And that was followed up yesterday by a New York Times opinion piece titled, Let's Ban Porn, where they make an argument that because porn is kind of messing with people's minds, and we have this whole problem that we talked about a few weeks ago about men not treating women well, maybe we should just do away with porn altogether.
Yeah.
And I can't see why that would be a bad idea. But I thought it'd be interesting to talk about, and I think, like you said, porn is one of those things we don't talk about.
Right,
and
we don't.
Unless you're in a men's Bible study, and that's all they talk about.
Right, but they only talk about it to a point.
Yes.
Like, people that openly talk about porn in the church, like in a men's Bible study, you talk about it, but you only talk about it enough to say, I struggle with this. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, okay, well, you know what? I knew a guy 5 years ago that he did too.
Yeah, exactly.
And, maybe I can get you in touch with him. And then, which might have been poor choice of words with this topic. And then, and then on and on and on. So, yeah, in this sense, I look at porn. That's funny that I say that. I look at the topic of porn like McDonald's.
Okay.
I look at it as it's not good for us at all. right?
Right. Yeah,
It's terrible for us, all those things. But there's that part of us as human beings and as, unfortunately, I think nowadays in 2018, it's just as much women as it is men. And so I look at it as it's horrible for us, just like McDonald's. It's bad for us. We all know how bad it is for us, but we do it and we eat it. And so that's how I think it is with porn. I'm not going to pull any punches on this show. Mm-hmm. Like, here I am, Joe Yerke from The Insiders, whatever. And have I watched it in my life? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Do I hate that I do? Absolutely. It's one of those, again, back to McDonald's. I don't ever want to eat McDonald's. I hate if there's a McDonald's bag in my car. It's like having porn in your car. Like, you don't want anyone to see it, and you're like,
McDonald's
oh my gosh,
is porn for your nose.
Yeah,
too. Like,
yeah, and it does taste good. But you don't want to admit it. You want to say that you woke up and you had that kale smoothie, and then at lunch you had some quinoa and whatever, and then for dinner you had a chicken breast and some grilled vegetables. None of us want to say that there's, that we partook of porn. But I think, unfortunately, because of Christians nowadays and how readily available it is and how young it starts.
Oh, yeah.
I know for me, like, I remember growing up and I would go up north and my uncle, God rest his soul, had his collection of magazines, like, in the underneath a sink. And I found them, and so I started looking at them like when I was younger and like, junior high and stuff like that. I had a friend who lived across the street, and his parents had a huge collection of like every Playboy like ever made. Mm-hmm. And what we would do, get this is a true story, people. We would take them, and they were in this like hidden like steamer trunk, and we found them, and we would take these old ones. We'd run down the street to our other friend's house, climb under the deck of his pool, and we would look through them. I was so young, I didn't even know what I was looking at. Uh-huh. Then instead of putting them back, we would burn them. So
to hide all the evidence.
We burned the Marilyn Monroe Playboy issue, like #1 Playboy of all time.
That your uncle was like banking his retirement on.
Right. Like, so but this is my friend's parents who owned this. These magazines. We just burned them. Like, I remember seeing the Vanna White issue, and when we were done, we just burned them. And so at some point, this family had to return to their collection, and it was like
just
empty.
All ashes.
It was just
take the ashes and like dump them in. Like, what happened?
Yeah, it's like Dumb and Dumber, like IOUs in there, or something. But
that's a Marilyn Monroe. You might want to hold on to that one.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's kind of like for me where I kind of got my first little sample of it. And then just growing up, it wasn't until my 20s that, the internet and everything comes out and kind of makes it a lot easier. And now it's super easy. And I know personally for me, being divorced, it made it a lot easier because like when I was married, I didn't want to do anything and look at it because, I didn't want to, quote unquote, cheat on my wife.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I don't want my wife to feel bad, like that she's not living up to what's on here and everything like that. Well, then I get a divorce and suddenly, it makes it where you're like, I don't have any, if I'm going to hurt someone, I'm hurting me. I'm going to hurt me. And if I'm putting this garbage into my brain, I'm putting this garbage into my brain, and it's not hurting anyone but me.
Yeah.
And then you realize, then there's the real side of you and the logical, and you're like, no, you are hurting more than you. There's sex trafficking. There's human trafficking. All the girls that are involved in it, like they get, I believe, they're kind of brainwashed young, get into it thinking money and all this stuff, and they don't realize like how deep that rabbit hole gets and how fast that train gets moving.
Yeah,
from the time they start in the industry and they kind of think, oh, I can do this and this and make a lot of money. And before they know it, their bodies are wrecked. They're this, they're that. They have mental issues. I know in the news in the last couple months, there's been several high-profile porn stars that have committed suicide that they've talked about on the news.
Yeah, I've seen that, yeah.
So, I mean, it's getting to the point where, like, I don't know if it is the elephant in the room. Like, I don't know if it's something that, I mean, definitely in the church it is. Mm-hmm. I think in the real world, everyone talks about it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't work at a church. I work, in an office building where you know, I hear it talked about openly, and, you know, excuse me, people have said, yeah, my wife doesn't care, you know, or my wife watches it with me, or my boyfriend watches it with me. And so I've heard that end too. And it's definitely a plague upon this country and upon the church.
There is, I think it's on Netflix, there is a documentary called Hot Girls Wanted. And they put it out a few years ago. And I think it's a very difficult watch, but it basically follows a group of girls as they get into amateur porn.
Okay.
And just, it's so heartbreaking to watch these girls who are like 18 years old and just be chewed up and spit out. Like, within the course of a year is their career.
Yeah.
And they've done like 100 videos by that point. And they're talking with their parents about it. And just like how the humiliation they go through. Yeah, it's really, really fascinating. But yeah, I mean, the first time I ever saw anything explicit was at a friend from church's house. My parents' friends from church's house. We went over for Sunday dinner. I was about 12 or 13 years old. I had to be younger because I had no idea what it was.
Wow.
And so my parents were talking to them while they ate dinner, and me and my brother and my sister, we all decided to go downstairs. They had a rec room down there, and we watched movies and stuff. And we got bored we had Little Mermaid, I think. And we're bored. So like, well, let's see what they got. Because we had been there before, and they had a copy of RoboCop or something. Let's see what else they had. And I remember we pulled this video out, and all it said on it was Starlight. And we're like, oh, it must be like, you know, Star Wars or something. Pop that thing in. First scene was... I'm not gonna.
Now,
go
was it
into
a
detail.
rated R movie, or was
it was
like
a rated
straight
X.
up?
It was X.
Okay.
It
so
was
straight up porn.
It was porn, and I'm like 11 years old. My brother is 9. My sister is probably 5 at that point.
Oh dear Lord!
And we're just like jaws down, and I'm the oldest, so I kind of have an idea of what it's doing, but it wasn't clicking what it was. And I just start laughing. And the worst part is, we walk upstairs because I decide I gotta tell them there's this thing on TV.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah, and they still talk about that with my parents, how we found their porn. But yeah, it's something that isn't really talked about. But the bad thing is, I don't think sex is talked about in church a lot.
Oh, heck no!
Like, as a teenager, all I knew was, it is the greatest thing in the world. Don't do it.
Right.
Like that was basically, sex is great, don't do it. And that was it. That was the only talk I ever got about sex. Well, how old were you when you got married?
I was 21.
I was 30. So between turning 18 and meeting my wife a few weeks before I turned 30, that's a lot of single time. And that is a lot of time where you're like, wow, I'm lonely, and what am I missing? You know, because I grew up Baptist and we waited. And so there was a lot of watching that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm not proud of it. But
again, it's back to McDonald's. None of us are proud.
None of us are proud of it. But it's like, I think by just holding sex up as this mysterious thing that don't do it, but it's awesome.
Right.
You're kind of like, oh, I got to check this out and see what it's... And the same thing that's happening to teenagers today. When I got married and we started actually, you know, being able to have sex, like, my brain wasn't ready for the reality of that compared to what I had seen on TV.
Uh-huh.
And there were a lot of problems with that. Like, it is a dynamic of how you treat women and what to expect from them, and the fact that in reality, sex is this messy, clumsy, gross thing that's also the best thing in the world. But I can see, and that was me at 30.
Yeah.
To be a kid at 14 going, I can't imagine this.
Right.
And we grew up roughly about the same time. It was harder to get porn.
Yeah.
Like,
there had to be a plan. Like, you had to do a hey mister.
You had to wait for someone to just throw all their stuff in the woods, and then you'd find it.
Right.
You had to turn to the right channel on cable and watch through the little...
Squiggle porn.
Through all the squiggles. Porn. Or even when you got old enough, you had to drive to the out-of-the-way family video.
Yeah.
And kind of like, Oh, I'm browsing the new releases. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Look at. Whoop! I'm just gonna. How did I end up in this room?
Oops! I fell in the saloon doors.
What? Yeah. What is going on here? And then so you're loading up with Alvin and the Chipmunks, The Goonies. Oh, here's Debbie Goes. Yeah.
Right.
And you just take it up, and then you're not making eye contact with the vendor. You're just like. Yep.
Right, here you go. And it didn't matter what it cost.
Yeah, you're just
he could have been $30 for these 3 videos to rent. You're like, okay, that sounds like a deal.
You're going up there at 10 in the morning on a Tuesday because no one else is going to be there. Which, if you're ever at a video store at 10 in the morning on Tuesday, you're not there to get something good.
Right. You're not there to get a beautiful mind.
But it's crazy now. Every kid has a smartphone.
Right.
And all they have to do is go to a website, and it's free.
Yeah.
And that blows my mind.
Well, again, the allure of porn, I think it was said best to me once. Someone, gave me their take, and I love their take. And the allure of porn isn't this is sex. Mm-hmm. It's selling just like anything else. It's marketing. It's selling something, and it's selling sex. So what it's selling is the imagination and the want of a man's desire. So a guy is watching porn to get that ultimate fantasy, and you come home, you're tired, you're this, you're that, one is overweight, one is not, all these different things. And then porn gives you the woman who's absolutely beautiful, wants you, there's nothing you can do wrong, everything. In fact, just sit back, she'll take control.
Yep.
And all these different things. And then, so as a dude, it's giving you your ultimate fantasy. So think of your ultimate fantasy anywhere else in life. I hate this term, but a man cave. If your man cave is giving you the ultimate sports watching, entertainment, think of that high that you get from going down to your man cave, turning on, watching the game on the 62-inch, HD, surround sound, all that stuff. Whatever is your thing in life that just totally takes it to the next level, that's what porn is for sex. It's taking it to that ultimate level. And even nowadays for women, whether it be studies, whether it be surveys, whether it's all these things, we're getting into a society, I shouldn't say getting into, we're in a society where women, it's no longer, women aren't really looked upon biblically anymore as the submissive wife anymore. The world has pushed forward that men and women are equal. And when it comes to porn, I think women think that too. So women get off on it. And take this for what I'm saying. I didn't mean to use that phrasing, but men are getting their ultimate fantasy, which is, everything that a woman, you want that woman to do, say, everything like that. And then the women are having their fulfillment. This is what I've read. And heard discussions of. Women are getting their fulfillment because for years and years and years and years and decades and centuries, they've been the submissive ones. And a lot of times in porn, the woman is telling the man what she wants. And the woman is taking control. And it's empowering for a woman to, allow this. The only reason this guy is doing it is, there's a reason why there's not men porn stars. It's women. We're familiar with certain women, and they sometimes they crack over into mainstream, and we know these names, and we know these from women who have been in porn, but we don't know guys' names. And so it fills both of those voids where the man is getting his ultimate fantasy, and then the woman is fulfilling a fantasy in the sense that, no, I'm in charge. I'm walking into that business meeting and telling those guys what I want, or whatever the case may be. And therein lies the crux of the issue when it comes to the next generation that comes up. Because again, like you said, that's what they see. And so guys grow up thinking that, boys grow up thinking that their anatomy has to match this, or they're less of a man. No. My equipment isn't like that guy's equipment. Am I less of a man because of it? girls, they're seeing this, and girls are thinking, okay, well, I need to let this guy do all this to me and, let every opening in my body be had. And that is not correct either. That's not true. And there's health issues that come from it. And there's all sorts of things. And it's heartbreaking, the mess that we're in now with pornography and relationships, and the fact that divorce is like 80% or something like that. Because I think people go into it, people go into marriage with this warped sense of what a love life is. We have so many, I'm sure you know people, so many people, their marriage life is like, they always say like, yeah, it's like I'm married to my best friend, or I have a great roommate, but our sex life sucks. Well, your sex life sucks compared to what? Like
what you're watching on porn.
Exactly. Yeah. So if that's your bar that's been set, like as a man, if I'm talking with my friends and they're like, you know what, I love my wife. I mean, she's great. We're like good friends and stuff like that. But I don't know if I'm headed down divorce, because in the bedroom, it's a total zero. Well, a zero compared to what? What you're seeing on this movie, which is fake? Like, I go to work and my job isn't like you see in the movies, like it's completely different. So it's that, and then on the woman's side, I believe it's the same thing. I always say, before I just keep talking here, I'll let you talk here in a minute. I always say the two things that have ruined us as marriage, ruined marriages, are porn and Disney. Because guys get porn, and they think this is what once I get married, this woman's going to wear these sexy clothes. She's going to be totally fit. She's never going to have a hard day at work. She's going to want to come home and just jump on me and do anything that I want. So that's the dude's thinking going into it. And what's the woman's thinking? She's grown up with Disney. She's got her prince that has no name. She grows up and she's just beautiful, and she floats across the grass and birds land on her finger, and she lives happily ever after. And there's never sex with the prince. There's this true love and just this amazing, you're going to dance the night away and live happily ever after. It doesn't happen. Yeah. And so when those two worlds collide, the grotesque of porn and the grotesque of Disney and warping girls' minds, I think the two collide into just a horrible storm.
I agree. And the thing is, too, okay, I put this article on Facebook, and I saw a couple of my other friends put it on Facebook. It was not a popular suggestion to ban porn. It was like, whoa, wait a minute. I had someone send me a GIF of a cricket chirping. And, and then he pushed and said, well, it's never gone well when other societies have banned porn or banned sex. And I get that, but I still think, maybe we need to do something about it, because there's all this concern about how men are treating women. Where are they learning that?
Correct.
They're learning that from, men who treat women as objects in porn.
Absolutely. And I think even the flip-flop of that, men are learning it, that's what they do. Women are learning, young girls, the porn generation. I mean, I'm 40 years old. So you figure women who are around 40 and younger, they're porn generation too. So the men are learning this is how you treat women, and the women are learning this is how you act. And I think what we're seeing in society now, and people who are getting labeled as creeps and stuff like that, and what we're seeing in Hollywood, I think there has to be a medium somewhere in there where all these women that are saying, this guy did this to me, or I went up to his room and I did this, and we went on several dates. Like at a certain point, you have to take responsibility for what you did. Now, when a woman says no, it means no. And there's no debate on that. But if you're going to somebody's room, if you're dressing away, if you're acting away and keeping the allure to that person that he has a chance going, and I'm tying all this into porn. So if girls are growing up seeing that, hey, if I undo that one button, if I wear this nice thing or this clingy outfit, guys are going to recognize me. You're going down, you're playing with fire there. Well, and because guys are idiots and you're playing with fire. Now, mind you, again, when you say no, that means no.
Mm-hmm.
End of story, end of everything. You know, my job, I got to deal with people that cross that line. And that is an absolute line you don't cross. However, we do have to look as a society and say, how did Harvey Weinstein get there? How did, the dude, Kevin Spacey, how did he get to where he was? You know, things are coming about James Franco. Well, the women and the girls that are with it, I understand like women who come out and say, you know, like I did this or I did that and you know, my career didn't go the way I thought it would. Well, you played the game. Mm-hmm. You played that game and you lost. What about all the girls that moved to Hollywood that tried to make it that didn't do that? They didn't go to that hotel room. They wanted to do it the right way, and we don't even know who those girls are. You know, they're bagging groceries in Oklahoma because they couldn't make it in Hollywood because they didn't want to do it that way. Mm-hmm. But because you played the game for 8 months and it still chewed you up and spit you out,
yeah,
you know, now there's pushback. There has to be something. I wish we all knew the facts to everything because I don't think we do. We don't know who these girls are. They don't go to police, but they'll go to TMZ.
Sure.
You know, so there has to be something in there. And I take that whole thing, put it in a big sloppy bucket and pour it out as, you know, as the messy end of the porn generation.
I think it all comes down to this too. We have spent as a culture so long trying to say, hey, you know, all this preaching about sex, we don't like that. So let's throw off all this sexual, like, I don't know, self-righteousness or, you know, this sexual ethic that we don't like, and let's do whatever we want. You know, you're human, you're an adult, you can do whatever you want. Well, the problem is, if you tell adults they can do whatever they want, they're going to do whatever they want.
And then some.
And, yeah, and, you know, guys are wired a certain way. Women are wired a certain way. And it just, if you don't have some sort of ethic there to guide it, it's a mess on both ends. And, you know, it wasn't long ago that feminists were making porn the big cause, like, this empowers women. And I've seen porn. It does not empower women. You know, it treats them as commodities. And... you know, I know it's not cool to say, well, I have a daughter, and, like, I should care about this before I have a daughter. But I do have a daughter, and I have a sister, and I have a mom, and I have a wife. And to see, like, to imagine, you know, them in this situation.
Right.
I'm like, why? That it's degrading and dehumanizing, and it is interesting when you get married and you start having that intimate relationship with someone, how much it's not like porn. Like,
right.
On an emotional level. And just on a level where, oh, I know this person better than anyone else does. I can't imagine, you know, doing this with anyone else. And porn is like, no, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And, again, I think adults have a hard time doing this. Kids, I have a son who knows how to work his tablet right now. And he's 6. He thinks girls are gross. In 6 years, that's not going to be the case.
Right.
And I am terrified about the world he's growing up in.
Right.
And, you know, that my daughter will grow up in a world where people look at her a certain way because they've been watching porn.
Right.
And I don't, like, aside from locking them in a room and never giving them electronics, I have no idea what to do except try and teach them right and hope they run with that.
Right. And another thing that makes me think is outside of the U.S., like me and you were talking as two American, red-blooded American dudes. Mm-hmm. Outside of the U.S., like, I don't know how South America reacts to it. I don't know how South America, how porn is down there. I mean, Europe, Asia, I mean, you know, from, like, unfortunately from articles and documentaries and stuff, like, okay, we know that, like, Taiwan is like a hotbed for, like, sex trafficking and Americans going over there to do unspeakable things with people, with kids, with animals. And you can go over there and do all of that. We've heard about Amsterdam. We've heard about some of these, you know, other things in other countries. So I don't know, like, the full extent of porn across the world, or if it's mainly the U.S. and then these other countries because of things that they're cashing in on because of Americans coming over and doing it. I don't know how much porn affects the rest of the world, really. I know when I was in Germany, at night in Germany, like at about 8 o'clock, all their commercials for on television, like we'd watch an episode of Friends. Mm-hmm. So I'd be watching an episode of Friends, and if I remember right, in Germany, it plays like the full 20 minutes of the episode. Like you watch the whole episode.
And then they do the commercials.
And then it's like 10 minutes of commercials. And that 10 minutes of commercials are all for phone sex.
Like my gosh.
Phone sex numbers. And this is like a normal, it's not cable, it's not anything like that. It's normal television. And whatever prime time, and whatever the number is that you're calling, it's showing full-on porn clips.
Oh my gosh.
On the TV behind the phone number. And anything you could think of. So if it's like, hey, you want to make out with grannies, it's 1-800-GRANDMA or whatever it is. And behind it, you're seeing video clips of naked grandmas engaged in sex acts, right?
Also, German, not a language I want to hear phone sex in.
Right. And so each commercial comes up with, let's say, a different fetish or a different topic. So if you watch a couple of TV shows, you're subjected to 20 minutes of this, these different images and stuff. Well, so I see this once when we're over in Germany on tour with the insiders, and I was talking to some kids at the show, that was like later that night or the next day or something like that. And I was like, what do you guys think of this? Like, we don't have this in the United States. Mm-hmm. So as like girls, as like late teen girls, what do you think of this? Like, is this appalling? They looked at me like I was from another planet, and they're like, what? It's nudity. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Like in the United States, like this
we don't
is
do
like,
that.
We don't do this and we don't see that. Like, what do you think about being an 18, 19-year-old girl? And then like, this is what you have to look at. And they're just like these German Christian girls were just like, well, it's just like anything else in life that we have to deal with being Christians. Like it's nudity. It's our bodies. We all have that. So right there, we don't care because they don't make a big deal of it. Now the acts that are going on, they're like, we don't do that because we're not Christians. But these networks that are on television don't put out Christian stuff. Right. So they just look at it. I can't, my mind isn't drawing like a parallel to like something that I could say over here, but they just look at it like, yeah, it's not for me. Like I don't call the numbers. As far as the nudity and stuff, who cares? You got those same parts. I've got those same parts. It's not a big deal. And they were kind of looking at me like I was from a different planet by even bringing it up. They were just kind of like, yeah, it's not a big deal. It's just nudity. But then as far as the nudity goes, what the number wants you to do and what the company is, like we don't partake in that. Like that is a no-go. And I was just kind of like, oh. So I talked to like a few groups of people, and after about the third group, and everyone kind of said the same thing, like they just didn't care.
Wow.
And I was just like, okay, I'm going to stop asking around, and that ended like my little social experiment. And I was just like, okay, I guess we are, as Americans, the weird ones.
But here's the scary. I think we're on our way to that here. We have HBO. And my wife is a Game of Thrones fan. I'm going to throw her under the bus there.
I like it too.
I would probably like it, but she ended up like watching it without me.
Oh,
and
one of those.
It was it was my fault. We started watching it, and then I was like, well, I'm not going to watch it tonight. I'm not going to watch it. And then she got pregnant and was home all the time.
She
binged through the whole thing. But it's like the things they show on HBO wouldn't have been in most movies 20 years ago, right? Like an R-rated movie wouldn't have shown half of what Game of Thrones shows.
Right.
And now there's so much competition. Netflix shows the same stuff. And, the stuff on basic cable is pretty explicit sometimes. And I'm not here to say don't put nudity in your shows or anything like that. I'm just saying there is a weird like mainstream of this sex, and to the point where porn is kind of a joke, and everyone kind of laughs it off that, oh yeah, porn's this horrible thing, like you said. Everyone does it. And
it's McDonald's, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of accepted that, yeah, no, this is just part of who we are, and yeah, it's bad, but, you know, we're still going to do
There's
it.
worse out there.
Yeah, and to the point where now, you know, porn stars, you know them by name, and there are terms that you would have whispered with your friends, like, 10 years ago that are just part of the mainstream. And I don't know what we do about that, because there is a part of me that wants to say, you know, people should be free to do what they want, whether I agree with it or not. But the bigger part of me looks at this whole gross culture that comes out of it, the fact that studies have shown that porn does trigger addictive tendencies in your brain.
Oh, heck yeah.
It does, you know, influence how kids look at sex. It, like you said, contributes to human trafficking. What do we do about it? Because no one's going to, they're not, like, as nice as I like this article, or as much as I like this article, they're not going to ban porn.
No, they're not.
It's $1 billion industry. And
it comes back to who we are as Christians and the message that I heard in church a few weeks ago, which is self-control. You know, I mean, whatever the quote-unquote sin, okay? And I say quote-unquote because I'm going to throw a couple of things out that aren't necessarily sins, but they hurt the temple. So let's say smoking. Let's say drinking. Let's throw porn in there. All these different things. As Christians, I feel like I've had a bunch of these conversations about different topics that I use this analogy to in the last couple of weeks. But it's not an analogy, it's a fact, I guess. So there's like the legal standard and there's the moral standard. You know, as Christians, the legal standard, you know, can you drink? Can you sit in your own house and just get plastered drunk? Can you just sit in your house with your medical marijuana and just toke it until you are seeing into the future? Can you do all these things legally? Yes. Can you watch porn legally? Yes. Can you do all these? There's a legal standard in this world that we are a part of as Christians. It's a sinful world. Adam and Eve started that whole nonsense. So there's that legal standard that can we do this? Yes, we can, because it's legal. Then there's the moral standard, and those of us who are Christians that we hopefully would want to adhere to. And because we're not perfect, if someone has happened to stumble across this podcast and is listening, I stand before you as a Christian, as a 40-year-old male who used to be in a Christian punk band, who is a father, who's an ex-husband, who's a boyfriend, all these different things. And I am not perfect at all. You know, I am not perfect at all. But what sets us apart as Christians is the hope that we have and the forgiveness that we ask for, because we realize we have not lived up to the bar that we morally have set for us in our own lives. And so the Bible gives us that compass and that the manual to the game of life, and that we try and follow it. We try our hardest. And when these things come along, when there's that legal standard and that legal bar that's been set and the moral one that's been set, we as Christians, we try to go above and beyond that legal standard to the moral standard. And sometimes you shoot and you miss. You know, like I can say I don't do drugs because I don't. That's not an issue for me. Drinking, if I wanted to do Lent and say I'm going to give up drinking for Lent, yeah, I could do it, no problem. You know, if I wanted to give up hockey, no problem. When I start to get into porn, that makes it a little bit more difficult. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My struggle isn't with gambling or drugs or with this. I think girls are beautiful. When a girl has her clothes off, that's pretty rad. And so, unfortunately, the legal standard is a girl allowed to be naked? Absolutely. Is a woman allowed, instead of boys and girls, let's say women and men. Is a woman allowed to be naked and I can look at that and legally that's okay? Absolutely. But morally, is that okay?
Right.
And that's where I don't want it to be okay.
Yeah.
I want to live up to that standard that, no, I don't accept this. I don't accept this in my life. I don't put this into my body. It's McDonald's for me. I don't want to put McDonald's. I'm tired of eating garbage. I'm tired of eating junk food. I want real sustenance. I want real life. I want, I want a true love life. And not what that is peddling, like that snake oil that's peddling. And so I think that's where we are as Christians is that legal standard and that moral standard. And we need to rise above, because I think a lot of us lower ourselves to the legal standard. Hey, I don't know about Christians in Colorado and stuff like that, but Colorado and California, like, are Christians like, well, hey, it's legal. Like, marijuana is legal. So the legal standard is there, and I'm cool with, everything's good. Well, there's more than that, and the Bible tells us not to put things into our temple and to not, when you're putting poisons in there, and that's what's, giving you the euphoric feeling, like, similar to like being drunk or, and high and all that stuff. Like, I'm pretty sure if Christ came down here, he wouldn't grab a big old fat blunt.
Christ wouldn't toke.
Yeah, he wouldn't toke. He would pass on it. And so that's where that legal and moral issue comes in, and I think that is porn.
And I totally agree with you, and I think you hit on too what I think the solution the church needs to have to this. Like, the church is obviously still going to say porn is wrong, and they should. But I feel like they need to do more.
Yeah.
And it's not simply don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. It's let's actually talk about sex in church. Like, okay, maybe not in the service, but like Christians need to talk about the biblical view of sex and what's good about it and what a marriage looks like when it models that and how you treat people and how Christians are champions for people who are, being oppressed in sexual trafficking and things like that. And start like really putting on display, hey, this is what a healthy, good sex life looks like. But also that if you have, if you've had McDonald's, there's healing for that.
There is.
You are like, that was the other thing is I remember in my 20s when I would watch porn, I never told anyone that because I knew like that was like pretty much like saying you've had sex, like to your youth past. Well, I didn't have a youth pastor, I was 20, but still, like just saying that would have been like a black mark. Like,
for sure.
What you do that. In fact, even though they'd probably done the same things. Like I had this idea for a novel a few years ago. I'm digressing and we're wrapping up, but that I wanted to do this story about a porn star who became a Christian. And it was just the only scene I had in mind, and this is probably why I abandoned it, was that she walks down the aisle one day to go forward at the altar call, and every guy at church knows who that is. Because that's the truth. It's the thing we don't talk about that we all struggle with.
Yeah.
And I think there needs to be more openness about saying, okay, that's fake sex. That's
correct.
That's not true intimacy. That's not true love. That's not how you treat another person. Here's what's better and more fulfilling, and let's talk about it. Let's see how we live that out.
Yeah.
So if you need something to point your eyes elsewhere online, go to our Facebook page and check us out there. Tell us what you think about this. I want to know. I want to know how many people are, don't tell me if you're struggling with it if you don't feel comfortable, but I want to know the view on this. Is this something you're seeing more mainstream in the church?
You know
more
what?
Acceptance?
Even if you are not comfortable, tell us that you're struggling with it.
That's true too.
Because that's the first. Because when you look at it, the devil is giving us that embarrassment that I don't want to talk about it, so he can keep you in that cage. Bust that cage open.
Yeah, and honestly,
let people know. There's places online. There's XXX Church, which is an online group that helps people with porn addiction, that puts you in touch with things, that can give you literature and sermons and all sorts of things to kind of help you curb that. There's a wealth of the internet is not all horrible stuff.
Yeah.
If you let it be horrible, it will, and it will take you to some dark places. If you want to find the light on the internet, you can find that too. And so again, things like XXX Church, you could probably just Google, things to help you with the addictions or different topics and things like that. So look those up too.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can get, if you're married, you can get accountability. Even if you're not married, you can get accountability software to kind of tell, keep in check with where your web browser has been going. If you Joe brings up a good point. If you feel uncomfortable, but you still want to talk about it, email us. Don't put it on Facebook. Email us, and that's all confidential.
Yeah.
So we will be back in a week with a lighter topic.
Yeah.
And a fun one. I think you're going to like it a lot. But in the meantime, Joe, anywhere people can find you?
They can find me on another podcast. It's called Cal Cagno Radio, CalCagno Radio. You can find that on podcasts on iTunes and SoundCloud, and you can go to the calcagnoradio.com website and all that stuff. You can find me there. You can find me on Facebook maybe Instagram and Xbox.
There you go. I'm on Twitter. New handle. It's Mere Christianity, and that'll become clear. It'll become clear why in a few weeks. I can't talk about it yet, but find me there, and I tweet a lot. Except right now I'm on Lent, so I don't. So you can follow me, but you'll just get the greatest hits. So we will see you in a week.
See ya.